This is HOA checkmate. I did not raise my voice. I raised my evidence packet. You are on camera now. Rebecca held up a stack of printed photos and screamed that she had proof I always park wrong. The tow truck was already backing into my driveway, beeping in reverse, and the driver was leaning out the window asking which car. I stood there in my red polo shirt, hood pulled tight against the wind, and watched her wave those photos like they were court exhibits. My registration sticker sat in the bottom corner of my windshield, right where it had always been, but she claimed it was not visible. I am a realtor in Asheville, North Carolina, and I know the Millstone HOA rulebook better than most people know their own lease. That morning, I learned that knowing the rules means nothing when the person enforcing them is Rebecca Nelson, election committee chair, armed with a handheld scanner and a vendetta. The truck stopped 6 feet from my bumper, engine idling loud enough to drown out Rebecca's voice for a second. She turned back to me and said, "You can be mad, or you can be compliant." I asked her what I was supposed to be compliant with. She slapped the photos down on my hood. Guest parking abuse, she said. Unregistered vehicles. Repeat violations. The photos showed my friend's car in the guest spot 3 times last month, each one marked with a bright orange stamp in the corner that said non-compliant. I pointed out that I had submitted guest passes for every visit, that I had the confirmation emails, that the HOA office had approved them. She said the passes were not displayed properly. I said they were on the dashboard, right where the rules required. She said the rules had changed. I felt my chest tighten. I was in the middle of refinancing my place, and any lien threat could wreck the deal. Rebecca knew that. She had asked me about my loan during the last board meeting, all fake concern. And I had been stupid enough to answer. Now she was using it. She tapped the orange stamp on one of the photos and said the board had voted to implement a new guest parking protocol, effective immediately, and I was in violation. I asked when the vote happened. She said 2 weeks ago. I said I never got a notice. She said notices went out by certified mail. I said I checked my mail every day. She smiled and said maybe I should check harder. The tow driver climbed out and walked over. He had a clipboard and a wheel lift remote in his hand. Rebecca told him the vehicle was unauthorized and needed to be removed immediately. I said the vehicle was mine. It was registered with the HOA, and it was parked in my own driveway. She said the driveway was not the issue. The issue was the guest spot usage and the fines I owed and the fact that I had not responded to the compliance letters. I said I never got any letters. She said that was my problem. The driver looked uncomfortable. He asked if there was a work order. Rebecca handed him a printed sheet with no readable text but a lot of official-looking signatures. He shrugged and said he was just doing his job. I felt the situation tilting. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Rebecca's face went red. She said I was not allowed to film her without consent. I said this was my property and I could film whatever I wanted. She stepped closer, close enough that I could see the vendor fobs on her lanyard swinging, and said, "The board will back me because they are afraid of me." I let that sit for a second. I did not say anything. I just kept the camera on her. She repeated herself, louder this time, like she wanted to make sure I understood. "The board will back me because they are afraid of me." I nodded and said, "Got it." She thought she had won. The tow driver clipped the wheel lift arm to my rear axle and started raising it. The chain rattled, and the back of my car lifted 2 inches off the pavement. I asked him to stop. He said he had a signed authorization. I asked to see it. He handed me the sheet. It had Rebecca's signature and a stamp from the HOA office, but no manager's signature, no reason code, and no notice period. I told him the HOA bylaws required 72 hours notice before a tow. He said he did not know anything about that. Rebecca said the bylaws had been amended. I said amendments required a membership vote. She said the vote happened at the annual meeting. I said I was at the annual meeting and there was no tow policy vote. She said I must have missed it. I called the HOA management company. The office was closed. I left a voicemail. Rebecca laughed and said management would not help me because they worked for the board, not for residents. I said, that was not how it worked. She said it was exactly how it worked. The driver lowered the wheel lift and said he was not getting involved in a dispute. Rebecca told him to finish the job, or she would call his supervisor. He said his supervisor told him not to tow if there was an active dispute on camera. Rebecca's face went pale. She grabbed the clipboard back and said she would handle it herself. A teen on a bike braked hard at the end of my driveway, 1 foot on the pavement, watching the whole thing. Rebecca turned and yelled at him to move along. He did not move. She said she would call the police for loitering. He said he lived 2 houses down, and he was allowed to be on the street. She said he was a witness to trespassing. He said he was a witness to harassment. I felt a little spark of hope. Rebecca whipped back around and said I had 1 hour to submit a formal guest pass request with updated documentation, or the vehicle would be towed and I would be fined $500. I said the documentation was already submitted. She said it was incomplete. I asked what was missing. She said the vehicle make and model did not match the form. I said the form did not have a field for make and model. She said the new form did. I asked where the new form was. She said it was on the HOA website. I pulled up the website on my phone. There was no new form. She said it was in the resident portal. I logged into the portal. The last updated form was from 2 years ago. I showed her the screen. She said I was looking at the wrong section. I scrolled through every section. There was no new form. She said I was being deliberately difficult. I said I was being accurate. She said accuracy did not matter if I was not compliant. I said compliance was impossible if the requirements kept changing. She said, you can be mad, or you can be compliant. That was the second time. I took a breath and decided to let her keep talking. I let her threaten a lien, because that threat would look terrible on the record. She said if I did not pay the fines and submit the corrected paperwork by the end of the week, the HOA would file a lien against my property. I asked how much the fines were. She said $500 for the guest parking violations, $200 for the unapproved vehicle, and $150 for the compliance review fee. I said there was no such thing as a compliance review fee in the bylaws. She said it was a new line item approved at the last board meeting. I said I wanted to see the meeting minutes. She said they were not available yet. I said the bylaws required minutes to be posted within 10 days. She said the secretary was behind. I said it had been 3 weeks. She said that was not her problem. The wind picked up and tore one of the photos off my hood. It tumbled across the driveway and landed near the teen on the bike. He picked it up and looked at it. Rebecca shouted at him to give it back. He folded it in half and put it in his pocket. She screamed that he was tampering with evidence. He said it was litter. She said she was calling the police. He said, go ahead. I almost laughed. Rebecca pulled out her phone and started dialing. The tow driver got back in his truck and said he was leaving. Rebecca yelled at him to stay. He said he was not getting paid enough for this and drove off. The wheel lift arm folded up as he left, and my car dropped back onto the driveway with a thud. Rebecca stood there, phone to her ear, shaking. The police dispatcher must have answered because she started talking fast, saying there was a trespassing situation and a hostile resident, and she needed an officer immediately. I heard the dispatcher ask for an address. Rebecca gave my address. The dispatcher asked what the emergency was. Rebecca said I was refusing to comply with a lawful order. The dispatcher asked who issued the order. Rebecca said the homeowners association. There was a pause. The dispatcher said that was a civil matter and not a police issue unless there was a threat of violence. Rebecca said I was threatening her. I held up my phone, still recording, and said I had not said a word. The dispatcher told her to contact an attorney. Rebecca hung up and threw her phone into her bag. She turned to me and said this was not over. I said I agreed. She said I would regret making her look bad. I said I did not make her do anything. She said I was twisting her words. I said I had her words on video. She said the video was illegal. I said it was not. She said she would have it subpoenaed. I said good luck. She walked to her car, got in, and slammed the door. The teen on the bike gave me a thumbs up and rode off. I stood there for a minute, watching her taillights disappear around the corner. And then I went inside. I opened my laptop and started going through emails. I had confirmation receipts for every guest pass I had submitted, all approved by the HOA office, all dated and timestamped. I had photos of the guest passes displayed on the dashboard, clear shots with the date and the HOA logo visible, but no readable text. I had copies of the bylaws, the parking rules, and the fine schedule. I had the meeting minutes from the last 6 months, all of which showed no vote on new guest parking rules and no mention of a compliance review fee. I started building a timeline. Every interaction with Rebecca, every email, every notice, every phone call. I labeled everything and saved it in a folder. It took me 3 hours. My neighbor, a guy named Marcus who worked as a renter advocate and knew how to file complaints, knocked on my door around dinner time. He said he heard about the tow truck and wanted to know if I was okay. I said I was fine, but I needed help. He came in and looked at my timeline. He said it was solid. He said the orange stamp was a nice touch because it showed Rebecca was marking documents without authority. He said the lien threat was even better because it was a clear abuse of power with no valid basis. He asked if I had filed a formal complaint. I said not yet. He said I should file it tomorrow with the county and with the management company, and I should request a hearing. I said I would. Marcus said he had dealt with Rebecca before. She had tried to fine his landlord for a shed that had been there for 10 years, claiming it was an unapproved structure. When the landlord pushed back, Rebecca doctored the meeting minutes to show a vote that never happened. Marcus caught it because he had attended the meeting and recorded it. The recording did not match the posted minutes. When he brought it to the management company, they investigated and found that Rebecca had edited the file after the meeting. She claimed it was a clerical correction. The board let it slide. Marcus said that was the moment he realized Rebecca was untouchable as long as the board stayed scared. I asked Marcus if he still had that recording. He said he did. I asked if I could use it. He said absolutely. He sent it to me right there, along with a copy of the original meeting minutes and the doctored version. I added them to my evidence folder. Marcus said the key was to make the board more afraid of liability than they were of Rebecca. He said if I could prove that her enforcement was selective, inconsistent, and punitive, the management company would have to act or risk a lawsuit. I said that was the plan. He said he would testify at the hearing if I needed him. I said I would take him up on that. The next morning, I went to the HOA office and submitted a formal written complaint. The office manager, a tired woman named Angela, read it and sighed. She said Rebecca had already filed a counter-complaint accusing me of harassment, trespassing, and filing a false police report. I said I never filed a police report. Angela said Rebecca claimed I called the police on her. I said that was a lie. Angela said she believed me, but it did not matter because the board would side with Rebecca. I asked why. Angela said because Rebecca controlled the proxy votes and the ballot process, and if anyone crossed her, she made sure they lost the next election. I said that sounded illegal. Angela said it probably was, but no one had ever challenged it. I asked Angela if she could get me copies of the guest pass submissions. She said she could, but it would take a few days. I said I needed them sooner. She said the system was slow, and Rebecca had implemented a new policy requiring a $50 records request fee. I said that was extortion. Angela said it was policy. I paid the $50 and told her I wanted a receipt. She printed one and handed it to me. I added it to the folder. Angela said she was sorry. I said it was not her fault. She said she was tired of watching Rebecca bully people and getting away with it. I said maybe this time she would not. I left the office and went home. My certified mail arrived 2 hours later. It was the notice Rebecca claimed she had sent weeks ago. The postmark was from yesterday. I took a photo of the envelope, the postmark, and the contents. The notice said I had 72 hours to remove unauthorized vehicles from the guest parking area or face fines and towing. The date on the letter was 3 weeks old, but the postmark proved it had just been sent. I added the photos to my folder. I called Marcus and told him. He said that was mail fraud, and I should report it. I said I would, but first I wanted to use it at the hearing. The hearing was scheduled for the following week. In the meantime, Rebecca ramped up. She sent another letter saying my guests would be cited, clamped, or towed if they parked again. I forwarded the letter to Angela and asked for clarification. Angela said the letter was not official because it was not on HOA letterhead. I said it had Rebecca's signature and the HOA address. Angela said Rebecca was sending letters on her own now. I asked if that was allowed. Angela said probably not, but the board had not stopped her. I said the board needed to stop her. Angela said the board did not meet again until after the hearing. 2 days before the hearing, Rebecca showed up at my house with 2 other board members. She knocked on my door and said they were conducting an inspection. I said I did not consent to an inspection. She said the bylaws allowed the board to inspect common areas and areas visible from common areas. I said my house was not a common area. She said my driveway was visible from the street and therefore subject to inspection. I said that was not how it worked. She said they were coming in. I said they were not. One of the board members, a man named Greg, stepped forward and said they just wanted to confirm that my vehicles were properly registered. I said my vehicles were registered with the county and with the HOA. He said they needed to verify the VIN numbers. I said the VIN numbers were already on file. He said they needed to verify them in person. I said no. Rebecca said I was obstructing board business. I said they were trespassing. She said they were exercising their authority. I said they had no authority to enter my property without consent or a warrant. Greg said they did not need a warrant. I said they did if I said no. Rebecca pulled out her phone and started recording. She said, "For the record, the homeowner is refusing to cooperate with a lawful inspection." I said, "For the record, the board is attempting to enter my home without consent, and I have not violated any rules." She said I had violated multiple rules. I said, "Prove it at the hearing." She said the hearing was a formality. I said then she had nothing to worry about. They left. I called Marcus and told him what happened. He said that was textbook intimidation and I should document it. I said I already did. He said good. He said Rebecca was panicking because she knew the evidence was stacking up. He said the inspection attempt was a last-ditch effort to bait me into doing something stupid on camera. I said I did not take the bait. He said that was why we were going to win. The night before the hearing, I got a call from Angela. She said the board had moved the hearing to a new location and time without notifying me. I said that was a violation of the bylaws. She said she knew, but Rebecca insisted. I asked where the new location was. Angela said it was at Rebecca's house. I said that was insane. Angela said she agreed, but the board had voted. I asked who voted. Angela said Rebecca, Greg, and one other board member who was related to Rebecca. I said that was a quorum of conflict. Angela said she knew. I said I was not going to Rebecca's house. Angela said if I did not show up, the board would rule against me by default. I said I would show up at the original location and time, and if they were not there, I would file a complaint with the state. Angela said she would note that in the record. If you are enjoying this HOA nightmare, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories where the Karens finally get what is coming to them. I showed up at the original location, the community clubhouse, at the original time. Angela was there. So was Marcus. So were 3 other neighbors who had heard about the hearing and wanted to watch. Rebecca was not there. Neither was Greg. Neither was anyone else from the board. Angela said they were at Rebecca's house waiting for me. I said I was not going to Rebecca's house. Angela said she would call them. She stepped outside and made the call. I heard her voice through the door, calm and firm, telling someone that the meeting was supposed to be at the clubhouse and the bylaws required public access. There was a long pause. Then Angela came back in and said they were coming. They arrived 20 minutes later. Rebecca walked in first, face tight, holding a binder. Greg followed, looking uncomfortable. The third board member, a woman named Lisa, came in last and sat down without making eye contact. Angela said the hearing was now in session. Rebecca said she wanted to start with a motion to dismiss my complaint as frivolous. I said the complaint was documented and supported by evidence. Rebecca said I had no evidence. I said I had a folder full of it. She said the folder was inadmissible because I had not submitted it in advance. I said the bylaws did not require advance submission of evidence. She said the board had adopted a new rule. I asked when. She said last week. I said there was no record of it. She said the record was being prepared. Angela cleared her throat and said the hearing needed to follow the bylaws as written. Rebecca said Angela was out of line. Angela said she was the office manager and it was her job to ensure compliance. Rebecca said Angela worked for the board. Angela said she worked for the management company and the management company worked for the membership, not the board. Rebecca's face went red. She said Angela was fired. Angela said Rebecca did not have the authority to fire her. Rebecca said the board did. Angela said the board would need to vote, and the vote would need to be ratified by the management company. Rebecca said she would make sure it happened. Angela said she would look forward to the meeting. I opened my folder and pulled out the first document. I said I wanted to start with the certified mail that arrived 2 days ago with a postmark, proving it was sent weeks after the supposed violation date. Rebecca said the post office must have delayed it. I said the letter inside was dated 3 weeks ago, but the postmark was from 2 days ago. She said that did not prove anything. I said it proved the notice was backdated. She said I was making accusations. I said I was presenting facts. I handed the envelope to Angela. Angela examined it and said the postmark was clear. Rebecca said it was a clerical error. I said it was fraud. I pulled out the next document, the guest pass confirmations. I said I had submitted passes for every guest visit, all approved by the HOA office, all documented with timestamps. Rebecca said the passes were not displayed correctly. I pulled out the photos showing the passes on the dashboard, clearly visible, with the date and HOA logo. Rebecca said the photos were staged. I said the metadata was embedded. She said metadata could be faked. I said she was welcome to hire an expert. She did not respond. I pulled out the meeting minutes Marcus had given me. I said the posted minutes showed a vote on new guest parking rules, but the original minutes and the audio recording showed no such vote. Rebecca said the minutes were corrected after the meeting. I said the corrections were substantive and changed the outcome. She said that was allowed. I said the bylaws required corrections to be noted and approved at the next meeting. She said they were. I said the next meeting minutes showed no such approval. She said I was misreading them. I said I was reading them exactly as written. Angela made a note. I pulled out the recording Marcus had made. I said I had audio proof that the minutes were altered. Rebecca said recordings were not allowed at meetings. I said the bylaws did not prohibit recordings. She said there was an unwritten rule. I said unwritten rules were not enforceable. She said the board could enforce whatever it wanted. I said the board was subject to the law. She said the law did not apply to HOAs. Angela said that was incorrect, and HOAs were subject to state law. Rebecca told Angela to be quiet. Angela said she would not. I said I also had a records request response proving they hid documents unless paid bogus fees. I pulled out the receipt Angela had given me and the email chain showing the $50 fee. I said the bylaws allowed for reasonable copying fees, but did not authorize a flat records request fee. Rebecca said the fee was to cover administrative time. I said administrative time was covered by HOA dues. She said the dues did not cover special requests. I said the bylaws define special requests as requests for documents older than 7 years. I said my request was for current documents. She said current was subjective. I said the bylaws were clear. Angela made another note. Rebecca stood up and said this was a waste of time. She said the board had already decided. I said the hearing was required to be fair. She said it was fair. I said it was not if the decision was already made. She said I was being dramatic. I said I was being accurate. She said accuracy did not matter. I said, the board will back me because they are afraid of me. That was her line, verbatim from the driveway. I played the video clip on my phone. Her voice came through the speaker, clear and loud. The board will back me because they are afraid of me. Greg shifted in his seat. Lisa looked down. Rebecca said the clip was taken out of context. I said the context was that she was threatening to tow my car. She said I was twisting her words. I said I was quoting her directly. I said I wanted to use the recording and the timeline and the evidence to request a temporary order to stop enforcement while the dispute is reviewed. Angela said that was a reasonable request. Rebecca said it was not. Angela said the management company would support it. Rebecca said the management company had no authority. Angela said the management company had a duty to prevent liability. Rebecca said there was no liability. Angela said selective enforcement and fraudulent documentation created significant liability. Rebecca said Angela was bluffing. Angela said she was not. The hearing ended with Angela saying she would forward the evidence to the management company and recommend a full audit of Rebecca's enforcement actions. Rebecca said the audit would find nothing. Angela said we would see. Rebecca left without another word. Greg apologized to me on his way out and said he did not know it had gone this far. I said it had gone further. Lisa did not say anything. 2 days later, I got a call from the management company. They said they were placing a hold on all fines and enforcement actions related to my account pending an internal review. They said Rebecca had been removed from enforcement duties temporarily. I said temporarily was not enough. They said they were still investigating. I said I wanted a written guarantee that there would be no retaliation. They said they could not guarantee that. I said then I would file a complaint with the state and contact an attorney. They said that would not be necessary. I said it was absolutely necessary. They said they would get back to me. 1 week later, Marcus called me. He said the minutes from the hearing had been posted and they were wildly different from what actually happened. I logged into the portal and read them. According to the posted minutes, I had admitted to multiple violations, agreed to pay the fines, and withdrawn my complaint. None of that was true. I called Angela. She said she had not written those minutes. I asked who did. She said Rebecca. I said Rebecca was not at the hearing. Angela said Rebecca claimed she was. I said I had witnesses. Angela said she knew. She said she had already filed a report with the management company. I asked what they said. She said they were taking it seriously. The management company scheduled a follow-up meeting. This time it was at their office, not the clubhouse. The regional manager, a man named David, was there. So was Angela. So was a lawyer. David said they had completed their review. He said Rebecca had violated multiple provisions of the bylaws and the management agreement. He said she had selectively enforced rules, altered meeting minutes, issued unauthorized fines, and misrepresented HOA authority. He said the management company was terminating the enforcement contract with the board and implementing direct oversight. He said all fines against me were being waived, and I would receive a written no-contact directive prohibiting Rebecca from communicating with me directly. He said Rebecca was being removed as meeting chair and would lose microphone control at future meetings. He said the HOA would be required to adopt an emergency policy that required 2 signatures and documented proof before any tow could be ordered. I asked what would happen to Rebecca. David said she would remain on the board, but her role would be limited. I said that was not enough. David said the board was elected and the management company could not remove her. I said the membership could. David said that was true. I asked when the next election was. David said 6 months. I said I would be there. The next board meeting was packed. Half the neighborhood showed up. People I had never met came up to me and said they had dealt with Rebecca too, and they were glad someone finally stood up to her. Marcus gave a short speech about selective enforcement. Angela presented the audit findings. Rebecca sat in the back, silent. No lanyard, no clipboard, no orange stamp. When the meeting ended, she walked out without speaking to anyone. 3 weeks later, I got a call from Angela. She said Rebecca had submitted a resignation letter. I asked why. Angela said the board had received 17 formal complaints in the past month, all related to Rebecca's enforcement actions, and the management company had told the board that continued association with Rebecca created unacceptable liability. I asked if the resignation was effective immediately. Angela said it was. I asked if she was still living in the neighborhood. Angela said yes. I said good. The emergency tow policy went into effect the following week. The board adopted it unanimously. The policy required 2 board signatures, documented proof of violation, 72 hours notice, and a signed affidavit from the tow vendor confirming that the vehicle owner had been contacted. The policy also banned Rebecca's handheld scanner and required all enforcement actions to go through the management company. Angela said complaints had dropped to 0 since the policy launched. I saw Rebecca one more time, about a month after her resignation. I was pulling into my driveway and she was walking her dog past my house. She did not look at me. I did not say anything. Her handheld scanner slipped from her hand and skittered across the pavement, batteries popping out, screen cracked. She picked it up without a word and kept walking. I went inside. The refinance went through. The lien threat never materialized. The fines were waived in writing with a firm no-contact directive. The HOA stopped selective enforcement after complaints piled up. Rebecca was removed as meeting chair and lost the microphone control. The board adopted the two-signature rule, and the neighborhood finally felt like a place where people could live without looking over their shoulders. Until next time, thanks for watching.